bargain shopping type of free agent here, Victor Oladipo. Should the Wizards take a look at him? We've got some reports that GMs think he'll go for a veteran minimum. So we're going to talk about him, and then I am going to get to Deni Avdija's experience in the DC area. I'll probably get to that first, actually, before I forget. I'm sorry I forgot last episode, and then we'll do a quick mock draft. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Just want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. All right, so Denny did a interview. I'm not sure where he did. He did it in Israel. This was posted from Innovation Sports on Twitter, Sports Junk, and yes, he does follow me on Twitter as well, so I followed him back. Denny mentioned he was robbed several times, and when asked what he meant, he replied, "Just like it sounds." So this is in the DC area. I'll read another quote here that Sports Junk posted on Twitter. He said, "I came to the U.S. from Israel, a different country, different culture. Everyone is far away, your friends, family. You go through so many ups and downs. It's really also an emotional roller coaster. I wish I had those three siblings who could just come and bring fun vibes." So the reason why I'm reading this and bringing this up because these guys, they're not just basketball players, they're human beings. So this is super important. And you hear how the transition from coming from overseas to the US can be tough, just like going from the US to the overseas can be a challenge. Or there's just different things. It's just different. The game is different. The country is different. There's just different things. And how old is Denny? 21 years old. So there's just a lot of different things that he's going through emotionally and physically and mentally. And you could tell. I don't know if this is why some of the things went happen. And I thought he had a fairly good season, but you could see some hanging his head and different things like that. Were there other things affecting him when he had three straight games with 0 points? Were there other things going on off the court? And some of the stuff, being robbed is very serious, of course. Not laughing at all. And then another quote, he says, "We are above it, strong in the head. Nothing bothered me. Continue to keep playing." He says, end quote. Next quote is, quote, "I've been robbed several times. It was tough, but we are above this. Strong in the head. Nothing bothered me. I'd rather not elaborate. It was tough." Um, I don't, I didn't get to watch the interview yet, but those are a couple quotes that are very alarming, red flags as well on just the area and what's going on. DC. I was born and raised in Maryland, PG County, right next to DC, so I know the city and what goes around it. If you go to different parts, it's not the nicest part in the world. So keeping it real here. But Denny, the questions I have as an NBA player, of course, you have a big target on your back. You're 6'9". You walk around, you look like you got a lot of money. You look like a basketball. Obviously, everybody knows you play for the Wizards. So there's going to be people who are looking for you in the area. So you just have to be careful. I know the practice facility is in Southeast. I'm not exactly what part of Southeast. I don't know. But obviously, the players go there and they have to go home. I don't know exactly which part it is. So I'm not saying it's a bad area. I know the Mystics practice there as well. It's a very nice facility. It's probably a very nice area. I need to go to a Mystics game and go to a go-go game so I can see what's going on. But I'm just trying to put two and two together there. I'm not assuming any part is bad or any part is this. I'm just saying, hey, why is a 6'9" NBA player going through this? And has anybody else on the Wizards going through? Has Rui gone through this experience being an international player? Has Davis Bertans, has he gone through this while he was here? So those are just some of the questions I have. But and I know it's tough on a young guy like Denny, to go through this. And I think some of the stuff that's been going on could be affecting him on the court. So definitely gives me more. I have more respect for Denny going through different things, but being robbed multiple times, several times, like, do the Wizards need to hire him a bodyguard or what's So I just have some questions there. What can he do differently to you know be safe? I mean, because it's just interesting. But I do want to keep it basketball, but at the same time, he's a human being, so you just want to make sure that everything is okay as a player on and off the court, and that it's not affecting his game and not affecting him as a person moving forward as a Washington Wizard. So just some crazy quotes there, man. Crazy quotes. I mean, DC is a nice city, and yeah, it's disheartening to hear that. So, but do want to get to basketball here. Do want to talk about Victor Oladipo being there's a quote. I'll read it really quick here from per Sean Devini. Sean Devini is an NBA editor for Heavy.com, author of Greed and Glory, Fun City, and others. Buffalo Wing enthusiast on Twitter, verified account as well. So it looks like he's some type of NBA writer. So quote from him talking about Victor Oladipo's free agency. He says he is still looking at a minimum, talking about a minimum contract, make good contract next year. A team like Sacramento or the Knicks or the Blazers, it's not going to be Miami. That has been pretty clear. That was on NBA Central on Twitter. So the Wizards were not listed as a team, but the Wizards definitely could use more depth at the shooting guard position, really at the guard position. Now, Victor, he's coming off of multiple injuries. You look at the list of games that he's played in the last couple of years. He's played in 8 games this year, 8 games, 4 games in 20, and he played in 2021. He played in 9 plus 20. He played in 33 games in 2021. He played in 19 games in 2020. 2019, he played in 36 games. So that injury, that catastrophic injury, that gruesome injury that happened where they put the towel over his leg and then he had a quad injury, he just has not been durable at all. And he bet on himself. He bet on himself. First he was with the Magic, then he went to the Pacers. I'm sorry, no. Then he went to OKC, played with Russell Westbrook. Then he got traded to the Pacers. Then after that, he played really, really well with the Pacers. Unfortunately, got injured. Then he was involved in the James Harden trade, got traded to the Rockets. John Wall was there. DeMarcus Cousins was there. They actually won a couple games. They were 11-10 at one time, if I'm not mistaken. Then they went on that losing skid, and it looked like the Rockets were just tanking. And they actually offered him a deal. I want to pull up the contract extension. It was almost like a Dennis Schroeder type of situation where a team offers you an extension, and then the guy, Victor Oladipo, Dennis Schroeder turned that extension down. They bet on themselves, thinking that they would get a larger deal, but it was not the case. Victor Oladipo turned down a 2-year, $45.2 million extension from the Houston Rockets. And then he ends up with a 1-year, $2.4 million deal with the Miami Heat. So he could have just easily taken that money, but he bet on himself thinking that he could get a larger deal, after that year. So it's kind of like he's looking back at it now in hindsight, like, hey, man, I could have just got paid. Dennis Schroeder looking at, hey, I could have just got paid. But there were rumblings of Victor Oladipo going to the Heat where they were in the bubble. You can see the Heat like to recruit. They like to recruit Bradley Beal. They like to recruit everybody they can. And Victor Oladipo is one of those guys. I mean, I'm going to read off his accolades before I go into the next. But, of course, the 3 categories that I'm looking for from a Washington Wizards player is what Bradley Beal said. Is that guy a dog? Can they defend? Can they shoot threes? And Bradley Beal wants bigger guards. So going off the assistant GM, does Victor Oladipo check those boxes? Now, money-wise, he could check that box. The Wizards don't have any cap space at all. They're over the cap. They can use the mid-level exception of $10.5 million. They can sign veteran minimum contracts, or they can use the biannual exception to sign players. So Victor Oladipo does fit in one of those 3. In my opinion, he's not going to make more than 10.5. And according to Sean Devini, he's probably going to make a minimum deal. So let's get to his accolades and let's see if he checks off all the boxes, and we'll get to that. But before we do get to that, this episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Summer is coming, and with summer, you're going to need some food on the go. Built Bars are the perfect snack to take with you on family vacations. Throw them in your bags, in your kids' backpacks. Make sure that everyone has a bar so you're fueled for your summer adventures. All Built Bars and Puffs are covered in 100% real chocolate. That means with Built Bar, you can eat healthy and actually enjoy doing it. If that's not enough flavor for you, then you might want to try the Mix Box. The Mix Box comes with 12 flavors of bars and puffs. Built Bar makes sure that there is something for everyone. Know what my favorite flavor is? It's cookies and cream. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Go to Built.com to get all of your favorites banana cream pie, raspberry, double chocolate, and so many more. They are all delicious, and new flavors are coming out all the time. Check them out at built.com. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. All right, so let's go over some of Victor's numbers here per basketball reference here. I do have a small stat from B-Ball Index as well, just showing how good of a defender he was. Now, Victor Oladipo, if you forgot what this guy has done, this guy has a lot of accolades. I mean, this is in the past, of course, but in a short span, and he's 29 years old. He's going to be 30 years old pretty soon. He's from Silver Spring, Maryland. Went to DeMatha Catholic High School in Hyattsville, Maryland, PG County. Went to Indiana University as well. Was a good player over there. But he's a two-time All-Star, 2018 steal champion, led the league in steals. Now, this is 4 years ago now. 2018 first team All NBA, not second, not third team, but first team All NBA in 2018. 2013-14 All Rookie, 2017-2018 All Defensive Team, and 2018 Most Improved Player. Now, once again, this is all 4 years removed, but he still has that pedigree. He still has that talent. He still has that athleticism in him, the ball handling skills, the self-creation. You look at the playoff game or the last game of the year against the Orlando Magic, he had 40 points. 40 points. He was the closer in the playoff game. Jimmy Butler, I want to say Jimmy Butler didn't even play. He rested in the game against the Hawks, and they put Victor Oladipo in the game. And Victor Oladipo is kind of coming off cold. I mean, there were a couple games where he collected DMPs in the playoffs, and Victor Oladipo stepped up huge against the Hawks and was a closer for them. He was a closer for them. I do want to look up some of the numbers here just to make sure. But he was a closer for the Hawks in that game. There were games where they were down, and Victor Oladipo had to step up. Yeah, Jimmy Butler didn't even play in the last game, the gentleman's sweep. Victor Oladipo had 23 points. He started for them, 3 for 6 from the 3-point line, 8 for 16 from the field. Had 3 assists as well. Was a +7 in the plus-minus box, and had 3 steals. Looked like his 2018 form. So if the Wizards can get a guy like that on a veteran minimum deal, that's a huge help. Now, the thing is, how would he fit here? How does he fit? We've seen guys come and go, not fit well. Spencer Dinwiddie last year didn't fit well on the roster. I'm not saying Victor Oladipo is going to be a point guard. He's better suited as a shooting guard, but he can bring the ball up and facilitate. There are times where he can definitely be a combo guard for sure, where you just give him the ball. Look at the Pacers, they just gave him the ball, bring it up, do whatever you felt like doing. And he could just go out there and do it. He was just controlling the flow of the team. The plays went through him. The offense facilitated through him. When he had Sabonis on the roster and Miles Turner, he was the alpha dog. He was the leader. The Wizards definitely need a leader. They need a vocal leader. And Victor Oladipo certainly was that on the Pacers, for one. But to see him step up and kind of come in cold against the Hawks and be able to finish a series, I mean, that speaks volumes for a guy. Chemistry is one thing I brought up too. He's a character guy, gets along with a lot of people. Skip Bayless said something about Jimmy Butler not liking Victor Oladipo, and then Victor Oladipo recently just went to a press conference and made fun and say, "Oh, Jimmy doesn't like me," and then Jimmy Butler comes out of the press conference like right next to him, and they dap each other up after that, just laugh it up after doing the gentleman's sweep, beating the Hawks 4-1. But you look at his numbers. Does he check the box of defense? Yes, he can defend. He's still a solid defender. I'm going to pull up the stat from B-Ball Reference or B-Ball Index. This is from February 19, 2021. This is when the Rockets were playing well in that year, the first start of the season. So here are the shooting guards with the highest defensive impact this season per defense of the LeBron metric. Number 1 was Juan Toscano Anderson, who played with the Warriors. Matisse Thybulle, who plays with the Sixers, who is a lockdown defender with plus 183. Dante Exum was third with plus 1.08. Victor Oladipo was fourth with plus 1.07. Fifth was Sindarius Thornwell plus 1.03. He was on the Clippers roster last year. I'm not sure where Sindarius Thornwell, but I always liked Sindarius Thornwell. He was a strong, stocky defender and athletic as well. But he's in good company. Matisse Thybulle is a legitimate defender. Toscano Anderson is a legitimate defender. Dante Exum is a capable defender as well. So just this metric alone gives validity to what Victor Oladipo can do. He can get in the passing lanes. He can create steals. He has that closing speed where he's athletic and get out there and defend at the point of the attack as well. So he checks the box defensively. 3-point shooting. How good of a 3-point shooter is he? He's a 34-point, basically a 35% 3-point shooter. in his career. With Miami last year in 2021, he didn't shoot the three well. He shot 23% from the three, 32% from the three overall in 2021. Actually, he shot 36% from three in 2021. He was on three teams, was traded from the Pacers to Houston to Miami in 2021. And then in the 2020 season, he shot 31% from the three. So every year it's going down. In 2019, he shot 34% from the three. So it's kind of iffy. Is he a knockdown three-pointer? No, but he's a threat from the three-point line. I'll give him that. He's a threat from the three-point line. Is he a dog? I'll give him that. So he checks the boxes of defending, a dog. I'll give him that. He checks that box with the Bradley Beal GM metric. 6'4", 213 pounds. That's average height for a guard, shooting guard. Checks that box. He's not a shorter guard, a la Howell and Ish Smith. I like those guys, but they're 6 feet even. So Victor Oladipo certainly checks those boxes right there. But what I did say before is the injury concern. So, and then looking at his contract as well, this is how his contract would work out. So the Miami Heat, they have his bird rights right now. So that means that he can surpass the cap to resign him this summer. But if the Heat is determined, this is from Who Hypes, but if the Heat is determined not to pay a luxury tax next season, Miami might not have to give Oladipo and stay under the tax line. If the Heat gives Caleb Martin a deal in the $8 million per year range and keeps every other player on the roster, then Miami would have only $4 million to $5 million to offer Victor Oladipo without surpassing the projected $147 million tax. But if Miami bypasses signing Caleb Martin, who has been a revelation, and keeps the rest of the roster intact, the Heat could offer Victor Oladipo a contract starting in the $12 million range and remain under the tax. So a lot of it's on Caleb Martin, who I do like, who I do want the Wizards to pursue. Caleb Martin's a restricted free agent. Him and his brother Cody Martin are twins. They're both free agents, but they're restricted, I want to say. So that's a target I would love to see the Wizards go after Caleb Martin. That's a 3-and-D guy. But getting back to Victor Oladipo, that decision on Caleb Martin could be huge for them. If they don't want to go into the tax and just let Victor walk, that market for him, he might be a second or third wave of free agency. The second wave of free agency, then you give him a veteran minimum deal. He can prove himself out there and then get a bigger deal the next year. I just think his fit with the Wizards, he would be a backup two guard to Bradley Beal. We don't really have much of a backup two. In my opinion, KCP is the starting three. We do have Corey Kispert coming off the bench as the two guard, as the backup shooting guard. So it would be tougher with the rotation. With Corey Kispert, those guys would be fighting for minutes. Or could Victor come in and be a combo backup point guard for whatever point guard we bring in, and he would just go ham, go in on bench units, and just be a great six-man for the Washington Wizards. The Wizards need to get more athletic too. I think he brings some athleticism to the table as well. He's caught a couple bodies and dunked on some people. The Wizards need to be more athletic. I haven't seen a chase down block other than Daniel Gafford in a long time. I haven't seen somebody dunk on somebody except for really Gafford. Their teams just look more athletic than us. I think the needs are athleticism, three-point shooting, and defense. We need to get more athletic. We need to get quicker defensively. Victor Oladipo is able to switch. He's one of those switchable defenders who's versatile, can switch on a lot of people. That's what helped them against that Hawks series. I'm going to read a quick article here from The Athletic, just a quick excerpt, just talking about Victor Oladipo's impact on defense. So Victor only played in 8 regular season games, but he did enough in them. This is per John Hollinger. 16.9 PER, player efficiency rating, which is solid. 60.5 true shooting percentage, and played solid defense as well. He could be an X factor, scored 40 points in the season finale against the Orlando Magic. Victor Oladipo, quote, after not playing in any of the first 3 games, Victor Oladipo checked into the game with 7 minutes and 53 seconds left in the second quarter and played 23 of the game's remaining 32 minutes. Miami was down 6 points when he entered the game against the Hawks, and then the Heat ended up winning by 24. They ended up winning by 24. So that shows his impact. Now, Victor Oladipo, I think he would be a solid signing. I would have him come off the bench. My starting 5 projected is point guard X. Maybe you trade for Tyus Jones, like I brought up earlier. Maybe you get Jalen Brunson would be wishful thinking, in my opinion. Can you get Markelle Fultz from the Magic, one of those point guards? DeJounte Murray is a pipe dream, but being realistic, I do think Tyus Jones is attainable, but it will have to be via trade. Shooting guard Bradley Beal, small forward, most likely would be the KCP, Kuz at the 4, Porzingis at the 5. Then your backups would be Oladipo. At the 2, you would have, backup would be Sato at the 1, Victor Oladipo at the 2, bench would be Rui at the 4, and then Corey Kispert maybe at the 3, knocking down threes, and then Gaff at the 5. Denny would fit in there somewhere, or Denny would be at the 3. So you just got to find that rotation, but you can never have enough depth. You can never have enough depth. Victor Oladipo would bring athleticism and firepower off the bench for the Wizards. So for a veteran minimum deal, I think it's definitely something to consider. I think it's definitely something to consider there. And he can bring, yeah, like I said, he can bring some tenacity, some leadership to the roster for sure. So I think it's something to look into. I personally, it doesn't move the needle, not much, but he could definitely help and bring some depth. We haven't had great backup shooting guards in the past, to be honest. You know, we tried Jody Meeks, we tried CJ Miles, we tried Austin Rivers to be a point guard backup shooting guard. So we haven't really had a guy that could, spell Bradley Beal off the bench. We had Jordy McRae, Jordy Buckets, we had Jordan Crawford, Martell Webster, guys like that. But I think Victor Oladipo would come in and definitely help coming back. And he's a humble guy. He talked about how he's battled from his injury about a year ago. He had surgery and he couldn't even play. So he's just a humble guy, and he's a singer too. So um, I wouldn't mind them taking a swing on a veteran minimum deal. All right, so let's quickly do the mock draft, like I promised, guys. I'm not going to do it on my computer, but I'm going to. It's on NBA Tankathon. I'm going to do it really quick here. Mock draft sim here. So going to do it real quick. I'm not going to do it on the screen. So this is where we ended up. We got the 10th pick, and the Pacers got the first pick, Jabari, and then the Rockets got the second pick. OKC got the third. Kings got the fourth with Jaden Ivey. OKC picked Paolo Banchero. Jabari Smith got picked by the Rockets with pick 2. The first pick of the draft was the Pacers with Chet Holmgren. Keegan Murray with the 5th pick to the Orlando Magic. AJ Griffin with the Pistons at pick 6. Shaden Sharp to the Blazers. Benedict Mathurin to the Pelicans. Johnny Davis to the Spurs at 9. And Tari Eason with the Wizards at pick 10 from LSU. A versatile defender who can guard basically 1 through 5, who can shoot the 3, put the ball on the floor. He can post up, very versatile. He's a little foul prone, high energy guy. Sometimes he can be a little too cool for school. 6'8", 260 pounds, high motor, high energy player. Plays with a lot of swag too. Can really handle the ball for a 6'8" guy. Very smooth. Can do some kind of and one mixtape tour kind of moves and get open and kind of get you going one way and put the, have the defender going one way and get to the basket and can finish above the rim as well. He would bring some aggressiveness and some tenacity. He has some dog in him too. He would definitely bring some aggressiveness to the roster for sure. So I'm going to do one more here. So the Wizards end up with 10 again. I'm going to do it again so they can get better lottery odds. They keep ended up at 10 again. Yeah. And then this one, we ended up 11. We picked Jalen Duren. So this was a terrible lottery sim here. The last one here, once again, we end up with the 11th pick again. So I'm going to screen share it next time. This one again, Tari Eason. So the draft lottery is 2 weeks away, guys, May 17th. So be prepared. I can't wait. Hopefully we can get some luck here in the draft lottery. But I just want to thank you guys for listening. Make sure you guys check out Locked On NBA Big Board with host Rafael Barlow from NBA Draft Junkies. And author of the NBA Big Board newsletter is joined by Richard Stayman, Sam Ferris, and Leif Thulin, giving fans an in-depth look into the NBA draft, mock draft, players rankings, and of course, big boards. It's free and available wherever you get podcasts. So I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NBA from the first jump ball of the play-in tournament to the last possession of the finals. Locked On experts take you deep inside the playoffs with insight and analysis affecting all 30 teams. So Victor Oladipo's fit with Bradley Beal. Can he get along with Bradley Beal? Can he mesh with Bradley Beal? Can he mesh with Kristaps Porzingis? I definitely think he could. He could come off the bench with Gafford, have some good pick and roll there, pick and roll with Rui Hachimura, pick and pop. Same thing with Kristaps Porzingis as well. Some good chemistry there, and Bradley Beal taking turns, and he could help Bradley Beal defensively. Bradley Beal wouldn't have to guard the best scoring guard. Those nights where we had Josh Hart going off on us, or what other guard, Anthony Simons, who's a beast, who's going to be really, really good for years to come. When he was dropping 25 points in the first half, we could have a guy like Victor Oladipo be another solid wing defender out there. The Wizards could certainly use that. So a 1 year, $2.4 million deal, take the hometown discount. I wouldn't be mad at. All right, you guys.